All right, so today we're going to talk about substitution. So substitution is when we take numbers and put them into an expression. All right, so we're basically taking, in this example, we're taking a 7 and we're replacing it with an A, but we're also doing the operation that gives us as well. All right, so the way that I want you guys to get in the habit of substituting for math, and this will be very helpful, especially when we start dealing with negative numbers and integers, is to always substitute numbers in parentheses. All right, that way we don't have to worry about the operation like writing times or anything like that into a calculator if we're solving for it. It just automatically does it for us. So the biggest piece of this lesson is that you are going to rewrite them with the parentheses noted, and then you're going to type it in your calculator as you see it, kind of like what we did for evaluating expressions. So if you can see with this example, I have 3 times a minus 2 to the third power divided by b. Now we're going to evaluate this expression for a equals 7 and b equals 4. So the way that I'm going to input it is put 3, and then instead of a, in parentheses, I'm putting the 7, minus 2 to the third divided by, and then instead of b, in parentheses, I put 4. Please don't just write 7 or 4. It'll be confusing later on. So I want to build the habit of using parentheses for everything we substitute into this problem. Once we have it filled out like this, then we can use the calculator to solve for the expression. Now this will mean that sometimes there's a lot of parentheses involved because there's parentheses on top of or inside parentheses, and that's okay. But we're going to be diligent about using parentheses in the actual problem. So let's take a look at these. So we're going to solve them later, but we're just going to practice substituting the numbers for these problems. So for example, A, I have 4 times C minus 2 times D divided by C again. In this case, C equals 2, D equals 5. So I'm going to rewrite this, and again, the substitute numbers are going to be in parentheses. So I'm going to say 4, and then C is going to be replaced with a 2, but I'm going to put parentheses 2. Minus 2, D is 5, parentheses 5. Divided by C, which would be 2, so I'm going to put parentheses 2. I know this seems a little redundant to like not have that just be a 2 and adding the parentheses, but again, I'd like you to get in that habit for later on as we're doing other types of problems. All right, so go ahead and you guys pause this and try B and C. Okay, so we'll start B now. So D is 5, so I'm going to put parentheses 5 plus 6 parentheses 2, because that's my C, divided by 4. And then for C, I'm going to do in parentheses 2, and then that 4 is outside, and this is one of the reasons why we would want to use parentheses, because especially as we start using negative numbers, it will make a difference. Minus D, which is 5, so in parentheses D, or 5, I'm sorry, times 2. All right, so once we do that, then we can just go ahead and we're going to type in the calculator the way we see it. And again, we're going to be using the parentheses in there. So for A, I'm going to write 4 parentheses 2 minus 2 parentheses 5. And these parentheses are going to do the operation for us. Okay, and then I'm going to divide this. So I need to go to my divide by the 2, parentheses 2. And this gives us an answer of 3. And this is, again, order of operations. If I'm going to do this like normal, here's multiplication, left to right. So we multiply that. That would be an answer. And then there's subtraction there, but we do multiplication. That would give us an answer. Then we divide, would give us an answer. So that would actually come out correct if we're doing it the long way. And I'll do that for this next example. All right, so then we're going to type this into the calculator and see what we get. So we have parentheses 5 plus 6 parentheses 2, and we're closing off that parenthesis, and then I have another division divided by 4, That gives us 8 as our answer. So I'm going to go through this whole thing and make sure we get that right. So if I'm looking at order of operations, this is 5 plus 6 times 2 divided by 4. Left to right, I would do the 6 times 2 first. So we have our 5 plus 12 divided by 4. So now as I start working them, I can leave that in parentheses just to show you. So 5 plus 12 divided by 4. I'm going to do 12 divided by 4 first. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. And then 5 plus 3 is 8. So it's still giving us the right answer, which is good. All right. So over here, again, you're going to type these in to get your final answer. So parentheses, 2, close out the parenthesis to the 4th power. And then I'm going to hit my right arrow to get off of that exponent. Subtract. So minus parentheses, 5 parentheses, and then I can put the times in there if I want. So times 2. Again, I'm getting in the habit of putting it exactly as I see it. The answer here would be 6. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing with these problems. Again, it's a lot of practicing writing and then putting it into the equation. So in this we have RT squared. So R times T squared. So again, R is 9, T is 14. So I'm going to do 9, 14 squared. Over here, I'm going to put parentheses 9 squared, parentheses 14. All right, then over here, I'm starting with this parenthesis. So I have the parenthesis here. Now, some calculators, it will make it a bracket because we're going to have parentheses within parentheses. But this is this original parenthesis. Maybe I'll show a different color just to distinguish. So we have that. Then we're putting in the parentheses for 9 and 14. So 9, 14. I'm going to put the other parenthesis and the squared. So the red was the original problem. The 9 and the 14 was what I substituted it with. Now, if you're getting help with this at home, or if somebody's, a tutor or anything like that is helping you, this might be redundant. Could we put 9 times 14? Yes, we could. But again, for some things that we do with integers, which are going to come up later when we're using negative numbers, I would want you to create the habit of doing that now. All right, and then we can just go right to our calculator and type it in. So for A, we have parenthesis 9, parenthesis 14, and then we're going to square that. So I do that little exponent button and 2, and I get 1,764. All right, so now the hard part is putting it in, and now we're just focusing on putting it in correctly. So for this problem, I'm going to have, if you're looking for shortcuts, you can see that they're pretty similar here. So I just already had the 9 in parentheses in there. So I can just raise that to the 2nd power, put my over arrow to get it off of that exponent, and parentheses 14. That gives us 1,134. And then the final problem, and here's where we got all these parentheses. So I have 2 parentheses, 1, 2, I'm putting in the 9, close that one out, start the 1 for the 14. All right, now I'm going to close out that parenthesis, and then I'm going to raise that to the 2nd power. Oops, I don't want that. And there's my answer, 15,876. All right, so important. What you are typing into your calculator is very important. You need to make sure that we're typing it in correctly so that we can get those answers done.